Okay, hello together, and here we want to see how we can export our finished video, right? We ended with our first video somewhere here, where all our characters are doing the motion, we added a vignette, etc. How can we export it now? And I will show you the way how we export it first, and then I will show you why we export it that way. So we export it in two steps. First, we export it as a uncompressed or nearly uncompressed high quality video, and then we compress it to whatever size we need. This is from benefit because first of all we avoid a trap that I will show you, and second of all we can now then save our high quality video and can compress it for every award depending on the file size they need, because they have some different regulations or whatever. We could compress it as however we want it to, but we still don't lose the finished video in high quality. So how to export things? First, we need an After Effects here. We go to File, Export, Add to Render Queue. When you add something to the render queue, make sure that you are in the composition you want to render. If I go quickly here to Project just to show you, if I had multiple compositions, I just press Command D to duplicate them, and I have them all open. They will open up here in tabs, like in my browser or so. And if I am in this composition or that composition, I will always, when I click to File, Export, Add to Render Queue, export this composition. So make sure before you export something, make sure you are in the right composition. For us it's easy because we just have one. So we go again to File, Export, Add to Render Queue, and in here we want to make a new preset. Because by default we see here the name, queued, so it's not done yet, it's just queued. Then we have render setting, best setting, okay, sounds good. Log, errors only, so we get only a report when there are errors, okay. Then we see output module. And here's lossless. And if we click on that, we will see it's by default QuickTime and in the format options animation. This sounds good, but this is super large in file size and not needed for us. So we want to make another preset. And if we click, for example, here on this little arrow, we would see, here we could have some presets, but okay, which one should I choose? We will make a new one. So we click first on this little arrow here next to lossless, and then we go to make template, and we'll have Untitled 6. We call this ProRes 422. And now we want to edit this here. So we click on Edit, and we see Format QuickTime. Okay, let's leave that. But then we go into the Format options, and the video codec we change to ProRes 422. Not the HQ, LT proxy, blah blah blah, just the ProRes 422. And then we hit OK. As you can see in this menu, you could have a lot of settings to change, but let's not dig into them into too much detail. In here, just to have that covered quickly, we also see you could resize your video, you could crop it from the height or whatever, and audio output is on auto, which means it exports audio when there is one. Well, it sounds all good, right? So we just click on OK, and one thing we also want to change, we want to change our movie default now from lossless to ProRes 422. So by default it will automatically select that for you instead of lossless. And then we hit OK. So now we have the right format. Now we just needed to say output 2. If you didn't export the video ever, it probably will say not specified yet or so. Because you just need to click on the blue letters here, and it will ask you where do you want to export this to. So for example, for me now, I want to export it in this folder that we had for class, and I call it Mario Race High Quality, just that I have that, and then I save that. Now it's still not rendered because I need to press the render button. And once I press this button, it will play through a video, and then it is exported. One little note, as well as we said before, you remember that we selected this work area here, right? That this work area is the thing that we want to play back. The work area also defines the part of the video that will be exported. So if I have the work area now too small, it will just export this part of the video, which is probably not what we want. So make sure before you export your video that you adjust your work area as said, B for beginning and N for the end. But let's see what we exported now. So if we look into the folder, I see I have my Mario Race high quality MOV, and it is the 4 seconds of the video I have. And if I press Command I also see the size 62 megabytes, which is for a 4-second video way too large. So as said, this is our high quality one. We could not enter that for any award show or whatever, because they normally have really strict file size regulations, and we need to compress it. What is more, it's a MOV. And we like to share MP4s because sometimes MOVs can make some little troubles. So we need to bring this now into our encoding engine, which is the media encoder. You have that downloaded as an application. When you download After Effects, you see under Applications, there is the media encoder. Just open up the media encoder and you will see, I just recorded something to try it out before. I delete that, so you will see it like this. And in here, we have on the left side, kind of like a file menu with our hard disk where we could go to whatever we want. And we can see our media browser. So we could look now here in the libraries or wherever for our stuff, which is a bit not so intuitive, I feel. Down here we have our presets browser with a lot of presets for everything. This goes from image sequences to web videos to YouTube or whatever, everything in there. But we don't need that in most of the cases like so quickly, because we simply for an award show, so we simply compress it as an MP4 and that's good. So we need to bring in the video here. So here's written to add items to the queue, click add source button or drag files here from the media browser or desktop. Which means I can simply go to my Finder, I look where is my MOV video and I click and drag, no, or not, and I click and drag it here. And now we see it in here, and here we see different other things. First we see status ready, okay, then we see output file, it's an MP4 and it will be saved somewhere, so let's see where we will save it. Okay, it's the same folder as the MOV by default normally, that's good, but I don't want to call it Mario Race high quality, I want to call it Mario Race compressed. And then we see match source, high bitrate, okay, sure, whatever. And we see H.264, which is a codec. And a codec allows us to compress it basically. It's a principle how to get a lower file size. So let's click on that and we'll see a menu in which we see again a lot of options. Like for example, here we have a timeline with a current time indicator, and we have other things for a new work area, which we don't want to touch here too much. Because if I want to trim it, well, I would trim it before, but I could here. Then I see format H.264, that's good. Output name, okay, export audio, export video, all good. And then I have a couple of tabs in here where I could set up things. Normally we just want to go into video, scroll down until you see bitrate settings and the bitrate encoding VBR 1 path. We want to change it to 2 paths. Just that there's like not just a kind of like a compression, but also an optimal way of compressing it. And then we see something like the target bitrate and the maximum bitrate. This means basically how much file size is allowed per second for every frame basically, or for the video basically, how large is a second allowed to be. And if it's not possible to compress it nicely, what's the maximum one that we allow it to go for? So here you see 1012, and down here you see estimated file size 4 megabytes, which is already good. But I'm sure we can compress that down to something like 5 and 7, and we get it for 2 megabytes. And then we can hit OK, And now it's written ready as well, and we can press start the queue. You see it runs through again and everything done. And if we look into our file menu, we see the compressed one playing back like this, and the high quality one playing back like this. And I feel we only, if I switch between those two, by the way, I just hit space so I see the preview. I guess most of you know that with a Mac. I see it a little bit in the pattern in the background, that it's a little bit blurry. And of course, the still image just shows all the artifacts, but the rest looks fine. And if we compare it from the file size, it's 2.7 megabytes to 62 megabytes. So definitely not worth 60 megabytes more file size from the quality. And this is how we want to compress all our homeworks, all our videos for award shows or so. So it's an MP4 in the end. And of course we could upload then the MP4 also easier to YouTube or wherever. And normally also for the clients, I send them a MOV, high-res, and then a compressed one, just for the demands, depending on the project, of course. So why are we doing it like this compared to the option, which most people think is the normal way, when we have a video and we go to File, Export, and directly add it to the Media Encoder queue? The problem is, if we do that, it's all added via like a Adobe internal link. So basically, Adobe then sends exactly this project in, yeah, Media Encoder, look at this project and export it. And here the engine is not really well programmed, which means that sometimes things are just not working out or getting lost or effects look different. It's just a little bit unreliable, I would say. The best way to see that is if we remove the background pattern and we see our white background, right? So we could change the white background by pressing Command K, for example, for background color, and then we can change it. Command K, by the way, are the composition settings of the composition we are right now in. So here we could change that and we will see it. Aha, okay, let's make it something like this, blue one. And we would have like a little video like this. And I think, yeah, well, I want to export that. And then if I go to File, Export, Add to Media Encoder queue, this will first of all take a bit. Here we see the old one with a little check mark, but now we can wait a bit until it arrives here from After Effects. Here we go. And I could also set the compression here to something like VBR 2 pass 5 and 7. And I also see already here, why is this black? I thought in After Effects it's blue. But, well, okay, we say, okay, well, maybe that's just, the preview or so. And we export it and we see, well, apparently it's not just the preview. Because if we export it here, it will automatically export it to this folder, AME, Adobe Media Encoder. And then we will see, oh, well, it's really black. And that is because the fill color in the background for After Effects, it's just like a fill color. It's not really a background. So even if I set, for example, like we can see that easily, if I set Mario to blending mode, here we have modes, and under the modes we have typical blending modes from all our other programs. On multiply, well, he will blend on the black solid. But if I hit it on multiply, nothing will change. If I hit him on color burn, nothing changes. If I hit him on overlay, screen, nothing, because it's not possible to apply it to the background color that is not actually there. So this is just a fill color. And we always need to have kind of a background pattern or a background solid. Now we have a black solid. We could make it, if we wanted this blue one, we could make with Command Y another solid and just pick the blue color. We can even not pick it like this, but you have to hold down Shift to pick it, because it's a special color. And now if we would export it, it would work. But as this method is so unreliable with also effects we apply, that sometimes a blur looks a bit different, or sometimes a light sweep is not really transferable, and I also had problems with 3D stuff, we always want to export it in 2 steps and not directly like this. So far, so good. And I think I will record you another video now where I will explain you also where and how we can package everything so we don't get lost files all the time. So see you in the next video.